Peace and greetings to you. This is Amuna Yisrael, affectionately known as the First Lady of Debate Talk for you. I have enjoyed coming to you week after week, season after season, growing together, speaking about the difficult topics, investing the energy, time, and effort with our brothers and sisters on the panel. Today, I would like to come to you with an opportunity for you to invest in something that I've been working on and that's near and dear to me. It's called the Yummy Cottage. You can learn more about it at www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. We're currently fundraising so that we can get it off the ground, and your help would be appreciated. Once again, www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. Check the link in the box and hope to hear from you soon. Greetings. Welcome back once again. This is Amuna Yisrael, affectionately known as the First Lady for Debate Talk for you. We appreciate all the listeners, male and female, who support the Relationship Challenge and our newest edition and sister show, Under the Palm, Hebrew Women Speak. So sisters, if you have something to share or desire to be featured on the Debate Talk for You platform, please send all requests to underthepalm2@gmail.com. Once again, ladies, that's underthepalm, the number 2@gmail.com. We appreciate you and hope to hear from you soon.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk for You Radio.
All right. Welcome back again. Yes, the voice is surprising, isn't it? This is the voice of Amuna Yisrael. I want to welcome you to the author segment. I am filling in for Sister Mayana. She's not feeling all that well today, so please lift her up in prayers. May the Most High continue to heal her and rejuvenate her body. I want to say all praises to the Creator for allowing us to have this opportunity to come before you and have this very special conversation today. We will be reviewing the book titled The Care and Feeding of the Single Mother, Spirit, Soul, and Body. I'll say that again because y'all know Solonomics, I like this kind of stuff. We're going to be reviewing The Care and Feeding of the Single Mother, Spirit, Soul, and Body. And today we have the author, the editor, and two special guests on the air. But before we do that, we're going to hear from a young man who sent us an audio clip concerning what it was like growing up with a single mother. So, thank you. Welcome. We're going to hear the clip, and then we'll be right back.
So, when I reflect a little bit on my childhood and growing up with my mother, her raising me as a single person, or not even necessarily a single person, but by herself. There's a few things that come to mind, but particularly there's the image of a structure that's supposed to function in a certain way. Something that's been mechanically designed, and that is the family. The family is like a mechanism that's been designed to function a certain way, and if you remove pieces from that mechanism, it's not that the desired results can't be accomplished, but it makes it incredibly more difficult. So, there was a time in my childhood when my parents split up, and it's kind of fitting for this analogy because at that time we had a car that it didn't work right. Now I remember this because my mom and my dad had a big blowout, and each of them, left with their own injuries. And my mom had fallen and hurt her arm, so it was difficult for her to drive. So, my dad not staying with us anymore, I was able to see her try to drive this car that had its issues. And the issues in this particular car was that the power steering didn't work. Now, we were still able to get to where we needed to go, but now my mom, with her own injury and with the extra difficulty of driving a car without power steering, she had to work really hard just to get from A to B. And that car kind of represents the family structure. It's designed a certain way to work with a certain measure of efficiency. But when you remove something as simple as the power steering, it doesn't stop you from being able to drive, to be able to navigate or anything, but it just makes it incredibly more difficult. And I think that is the image of a single mother, somebody trying to navigate this family with the handicap of being hurt by being in that situation personally, and then also the vehicle not being able to function with its full intended efficiency because it's missing parts. So when you remove a father from there, she's able to get the job done, but it is incredibly difficult, and that is something that is to be appreciated, that level of difficulty and that original design. When that original design is corrupted, the vehicle itself does not work as intended.
Wow, what an awesome analogy. That was the voice of one of our special guests, which is Brent Parker, and the analogy, it paints the picture a lot of times. We'll go into it. I'm not even going to start. We're going to go into it. So, and we're going to hear another clip in a little bit. But before we go there, I want to bring in our special guest, our hostess with the mostest, or our author for the night. We have Sister Angela Malakah Phillips. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Shalom, everyone. All praises to the Most High, the Holy One of Israel. And thank you, Sister Amuna, for being able to step in and do what you do and host the show tonight. And I pray for quick healing and blessings upon our Sister Mayana. And I want to thank you for the guests that are joining us tonight. So I'm happy to be here. I'm so excited about this book. I can't wait to get into the conversation and hear what folks are thinking, and hopefully we can even have some callers that maybe have read the book already. That'd be awesome.
All right, that sounds good. We're going to jump right in. But before we do, just let everybody know that we have the editor here, which is Michelle Mickey Benton, as well as Anonymous Hebrew and Brenton Parker, who we heard through the clip. So definitely stand by. We're going to come to you. But before we do, we're going to go into why the title. The title was, and I'm going to read it again, The Care and the Feeding of the Single Mother, Spirit, Soul, and Body. What led you to naming this book that title?
Well, it's actually kind of a playoff of another book that was written some time ago. Probably this book was written about 12 years ago, and it was called The Care and Feeding of the Husband, or something to that. And it was basically, that book was about, how to best relate to, minister to, take care of a husband. And so at the time, I was a single mom, and so that title kind of stuck out to me, like, what if someone talked about how to minister to, see after, take care of a mom who, through whatever situation is on her own and possibly struggling with the raising of her children. Now, when the title first came to me, I was not in the Hebraic community. So I wrote one version of this book, a couple of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. But then as I learned more about Torah and grew, there were some things that I wanted to add. So I didn't change the title, but I went back and kind of revisited what I originally wrote and kind of updated it. So to me, the title is it's kind of like, sometimes as a single mother, I've noticed in this community that you can be invisible. Nobody sees you. Nobody's necessarily caring or reaching out to you to support. And then out of the community that I was in, when you were not necessarily invisible, but you were kind of seen as maybe a threat, kind of like I was in the church and the women in the church didn't really want to be around, the married women didn't really want to be around a single woman because, didn't want the problem of a husband looking at the single mother. Or, the church just wasn't equipped to in any way deal with her situation. So I find that there are some great similarities in both communities concerning single moms. And so I just decided to keep that title and run with it.
Okay, so basically it was an underserved or underaddressed area, but a real problem or issue within our community. And so I thank you for addressing it, because as you said, it is. Sometimes we don't necessarily see what translates in the Bible as single mother, but to some, the man may not be deceased, but he may not be there. And so the fatherless and the motherless, these are parentless children. And as you said, it's an awkward space that oftentimes people don't know what to do with it. So one of the foremost things, since we're a little bit, we had a little outline, but, we rocks with things. So what is one of the foremost things that you want someone, or reason why someone should pick the book up? Do I have to be a single mother? Should men pick up the book? Who is your target audience, and why should they read the book?
My target audience was single women in particular who were parenting between the ages of about 18 and 45. But I have been told by other women who have read the book, who are not moms of small children or moms at all, that they were able to get a lot out of the book as well. I actually got a message from an older lady today who bought the book, and this lady's in her 60s, and she said to me, I think that people who are contemplating being in relationships should read this book. So I thought that was really an interesting perspective, that she felt like there were things in the book that could help someone who wasn't necessarily a mom yet, but just contemplating even being in a relationship where a child could be brought forth. So that was my target audience, was 18 to 45, single moms, but I would say any woman could get something out of this book. And men, too. I don't tell men not to read it. I know a couple of brothers who have let me know they've read it and were blessed by it and passed it on to sisters and nieces and other family members.
Well, I did get thank you for that. I got an opportunity to read the first version. I see that you interweave a lot of your personal stories with, you make it a very personal book, a conversational book. Why did you feel the need to share so much of your life, as opposed to just saying, hey, making it very, straightforward? Why did you feel that you needed to pour so much of yourself into the text?
That's a great question, Sister Moon. I think, to me, I don't think people care what you know until they know that you care. And I also don't think people want to hear from someone who can't relate to what they're going through. They might, when we talk about scripture or Torah, someone can share the scripture with you, and they don't necessarily have to be, a pastor, teacher, a moreh, and they can just share a scripture with you that can encourage you, that can help you. But when you talk about the specific situation of being a single mother, unless the person has experienced some of the things, some of the challenges, some of the heartache, some of the trauma that come with being in that situation, you just kind of sound preachy. You just kind of sound like you're telling the sister what to do without any real compassion towards her situation. So I wanted the reader to know that I understood that my compassion is with them, that I can relate. And I didn't know a better way to do that than to just be transparent, to be honest. God has redeemed me from a lot of things, and I don't have to worry about my reputation. I just have to worry about being obedient.
Okay, for those of you who are like, what? Sister Malakah wrote some stuff about herself in the book? And again, as you said, we all come from different spaces, and the story of redemption, the story of renewal is in our testimony. And so if we don't share where we're coming from, as you said, there's a lot of people who we may not be able to reach with chapter and verse if we don't first let them know that I understand. You know what I'm saying? I've been where you are. And sometimes they look at you like, you've been? Like, trust me. You know what I mean? I've been where you are. So as we continue you spoke about writing the text before coming into this way. Do you find that some of the same reasons exist in and out of the quote truth of how and why women get into single mother situations?
Absolutely, absolutely, sis. Trauma is trauma, and some of us come in single motherhood by way of trauma. And when I say trauma, I mean the loss of a relationship. It could be the death of a spouse. It could be the incarceration of a partner. It could be the partner leaving. It could be abuse or violence in the relationship, which causes a separation. There's so many ways that a woman can become a single mother, and so many of those ways can have the results of trauma, or trauma experienced before getting into the relationship that produced the child could actually be part of the reason why the relationship didn't work. So I find that whether you are a Christian or whether you are a Hebrew Israelite or whether you are a metaphysicist, whatever you are, if there's work in your soul that hasn't been addressed, the very things that make it difficult to live life make it super difficult to be a parent and live life, to be addressed. No matter what your faith background or foundation is, there's some work that has to be done emotionally in order to be the best parent you can be.
That's deep. That's deep because, again, some people may think that, problems that exist, this is over the rainbow. So problems that exist in the, quote, world don't exist on the other side. And, in fact, as you're sharing and, as statistics bear out, that's simply not true. But what if someone is a single mother on the other side? You've written this book, and they come into the truth, they come into this way, and someone says to them, marriage is the only solution for you. This is the only way you're going to redeem yourself. This is the only way you're going to get a covering and be now worthy. What are your thoughts on that, based on the fact that these are doctrinal things that are out there?
Right. That's a great question as well, because honestly, when I came into this way, that was a reoccurring thing that I heard, and it actually caused me to hesitate a little bit in revising the book because I really had to go into prayer and fasting and asking Most High. I don't want to be perceived as encouraging single motherhood in the sense that this is not a feminist manifesto where I'm saying you don't need a man, go out there and have babies and don't worry about having a man. It is far from that. And I didn't want it to be perceived as that. But I did hear reoccurring conversations with young women where they were basically saying these things, that I need to get a husband under any circumstances, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. And so I actually had someone say that to me who was in a position of teaching, where they were basically like, a single woman just needs to go and get a husband. That is the solution in Israel for single motherhood. And the problem with that type of thinking is that could be the ideal solution, but that is not the reality in which we live. Not every brother in Israel wants to marry a woman with children. That's the first thing. And the second thing is there may not be a situation that's conducive to the single mother for bringing her children into it, And I know somebody's going to say, polygyny. Somebody's going to go there, so I'll just say it first. Because I've had brothers say that to me. Well, if our sisters would just be humble and be open to the man who has more than one wife, then they could be covered. But I've heard many stories. Miley, your dad wants to. I'm sorry, you guys. I have children that are currently here. So I've heard many sisters tell me stories of brothers who have volunteered to be their husbands, although, they did have another wife. And I have one sister in particular who spoke with me after she had traveled cross-country to join a family, be a wife in a family, only to discover the first wife didn't know, only to discover that there was no place for them to live because the first wife wasn't willing to allow that. And I say allow that meaning she just wasn't cooperating with it. And then, the situation was abusive. She didn't know any of that. Thinking was Let me just go get a husband because I need a covering. And I find more women running into more trauma by pursuing that solution than perhaps considering an alternative while they wait for the Most High to make a way for a husband. So I just suggest that there's an alternative way to approach it. Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. Speaking about that, and thank you for that, because that also is a reoccurring theme. Unfortunately, there's many not so happy endings to stories of that nature for people taking that very advice. So speaking of your alternative, I'm quite sure you outlined it in the book. Can you give us a bit more information about, in your estimation and your experience, what should she do, even if later on she remarries, what should she do in the interim, under the weight of being a single mother, raising however many children she may have? What should she do in the interim? You say the care of the single mother. How does she care for herself? When does she have time to care for herself? And what does that look like?
Okay. Well, I would say that the care starts, I kind of work my way in, start with body and work my way into spirit in the book. And basically I outline some strategies for ways to take care of our body, ways to take care of our emotional health, and ways to take care of our spiritual growth. I encourage the single mother to see this as not not an option, but to see it as a necessity. A lot of times, and I know I'm guilty, I was guilty very much so of this as a single mom, where you think exercising your body is an option. You just don't feel like doing it. You don't want to make the time to do it, so it's really not necessary. But the truth of the matter is that, I had a doctor tell me once, you might be mentally or emotionally dealing with an issue, but your body is not necessarily moving that issue through it. You might be retaining that stress in your body. So although you might be managing your stress emotionally, your body is not being given an opportunity to release it. So your body is holding on to that stress and disease, and the body is designed to fight or flight when it's under stress or when it's under perceived threat or pressure. And so, of course, that's chemicals being released into the brain and into the body that are not supposed to be there 24 hours a day. So there's disease that comes about from that. So my point in saying that whole thing is that, in the book, I outline some strategies of ways to take care of yourself, but I also talk about the importance of it. Why do it? Not looking at it as optional, but as necessary. As exercise, for example, is preventative medicine. It's not, recovering after the heart attack. It's preventing the heart attack. I've known, I can count on a hand, 5 women of color in the last 10 years who have died from aneurysms. That's not coincidental that women of color are dying from aneurysms. That has something to do with the level of stress in their body, the level of adrenaline in their body. And so my strategy or my alternative would be to pursue caring for yourself physically through your diet, through your exercise, through how you actually physically treat, cleanse, and keep your body. Also, emotionally, how you work through issues, how you deal with anger, frustration. Also, spiritually, are you grounded in your faith? Are you pursuing a deeper relationship with the Most High? There's many strategies that come into play. And of course, a woman is tired, so she may say, well, I don't have time for that. But I'm going to say this one thing, and then I'm going to yield and let someone else have a chance to speak. But if you've ever been in an airplane, and telling you the instructions of what to happen in a crisis situation, and she will say, these little oxygen masks that drop down when you hit a certain altitude, she will say, if you're traveling with a small child, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then your child. And that seems odd to many moms because our typical response to crisis would be to just focus on taking care of the kid and don't worry about anything else. But the reasoning behind putting it on yourself first is if you pass out, if you give up, if your body quits, if your mind is not stable, how can you care for the children? So self-care is not an option. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Sister Mona.
Thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Malakah, and we are on an author interview tonight. And she's the author of the book, The Care and the Feeding of the Single Mother. So if you're listening in the audience, feel free to press 1 because we're going to come to you in a little bit. But before we do, we have some special guests on the air with us. We have Michelle Mickey Benton. We have Anonymous Hebrew as well as Benton. So, Brother Sal, you can go ahead and bring them in so that they can introduce themselves to the audience.
Hello, this is Michelle Mickey Benton.
Hey, how you doing? How are you?
I am blessed to be here.
Thank you for and I understand that you're the editor of the book. Feel free to share with us your thoughts on the project and where you would like to see it get to. And do you think it's reaching its intended audience?
Absolutely. I this project is something that I'm very passionate about. I had the privilege of also editing the first version of this book, and I've had the privilege of knowing Sister Malakah since I was 19 years old, something like that. And I'm much older than that now. And one of the things is that I got to walk with her. We walked together through our stages of when we were single parents. And so when one of the things that we wanted when we were single parents was wisdom. We wanted this information. We wanted a playbook on how we can get through this. We wanted to know how to get through our trauma. And we leaned on each other very heavily for that, and as well as other sisters. And we did the best that we knew how to do. And when I saw what she put together with this book, I was just like, this needs to go to everybody. Everybody needs to see this, and not just single moms, and not just moms in general, not just women. I think that even people who are raised by single mothers need to see this, because a lot of times they don't understand what it took in order for them to have the childhood that they had. They don't understand what sacrifices needed to be made. They don't understand. A lot of times you don't look at your mother or your parent as a person until it's too late. So I just think that this book gives such a great insight. The Word of God says that we overcome by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb, and by her being so transparent in this book, it really, really, really creates a situation where you feel like you have a sister that has come alongside you and just said, let me just grab you and show you the way. So I want this to go into homes all over the world. As a matter of fact, I think it is selling in other countries already. So I'm excited about this project and so blessed to be a part of it.
Very much so. So we're hearing from Malakah's editor and longtime friend who, again, the testimony is great because it speaks to the truth that Sister Malakah shared within this book of having this community, having a village, so to say, people who are binding together, who are experiencing some of the same things to become the support system. They say it takes a village to raise a family, a child. Indeed, it does. And in today's space and time, and I'm going to ask the sisters, and then I'm going to come to Anonymous Hebrew, but what are your thoughts on, I'm going to go to Sister Malakah first and then Sister Michelle, what are your thoughts on this the fact that the woman oftentimes as a single mother has to step into this role, but the thought that society has that this is her permanent space, kind of say, now she must continue to be this superwoman. You understand what I'm saying? And how does that affect her going into now a relationship where now she can relax a bit? I'm going to ask you.
You're over here reading minds. You're over here reading minds, Sister Mooney. I don't understand. That must be a lot. Now, I mean, we talk all the time now about, another project, and the other project that is on my heart heavily is the idea of coming into a marriage after having 18 years. I did not know that I would actually get married again. It was a hope. But I didn't know that it was going to happen. I hoped and I prayed that it would. And so I did marry. And there's a lot that happens in terms of being that one that has to go out and lead the family in all things, you know, it's different to go out and kind of be part of a team, and you take on certain aspects of dealing with life, and you bring back that victory to the family, and then, you know, you have the husband who goes out and he does his part, and he comes back with a victory, and you celebrate the win together, and, you know, but when it's just you, what tends to happen is a hardness can develop. A hardness and a bitterness can develop. That makes it kind of difficult to merge into a team with a man when it is time, when he does come. Bitterness and that hardness from consuming one's soul. You know, Scripture talks about having a root of bitterness in the heart, and bitterness, you know, that would actually poison the things that come out, the words even that come out of your mouth. You know, and so. There is a need to not abdicate femininity. And it's difficult when you're being a single mom and you're being the breadwinner and you're being the provider and the protector and all of these things. It's difficult not to abdicate femininity. But there are ways that you can practice not letting go of your femininity. There are ways that you can relate to the men that are in your life, whether it's a brother, an uncle, a cousin, you know, a father. There are ways that you can learn to relate to men so that you keep that femininity. You don't get solidified in hardness, because that space of being in the forefront of every situation in a family is not the space that we were really, you know, created to be in. I mean, we're to be mutual. We're to be a team, a unit. You know, but when we have to take that lead and be out there fighting the dragons and beating back the, you know, the enemies and bringing home the food, it can be real easy to take on more of a masculine energy. And then, you know, it kind of limits your pool of prospective mates even more, because that masculine is not attracted to a masculine man. So, with that idea.
Catch-22. Sister Michelle, thank you so much for that, Sister Malakah, because this is what we're experiencing overall as a nation, because, as you said, the feminine principle has to step into a space that she was meant to supplement, and now she becomes the primary, and she can become callous and hard. So, Sister Michelle, what are your thoughts? Would you like to share on the question before we go on?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is one of the things that I love the most about the message of this book, is that it actually it encourages us to honor our femininity, and not only to honor it, but to recognize what it is. One of the that happens with us is that we don't recognize that strength that sometimes we that the strength that we have is also part of our femininity. It's not all strength is not masculine energy. And so it's okay to be strong and be feminine. And so I believe that through some of the lessons that are taught, through some of the stories that are told, through some of the things that Sister Malakah brings out, it helps you to kind of identify and tap into that feminine energy inside of you and say, wait a second, that's not weakness, that's strength. Or wait a second, that's not masculinity, that's part of my femininity. And, you know, for instance, you know, sometimes the things that we do, one of the things that I've been learning recently is just how powerful we are as women in ways, you know, if we stand up in the times that we need to stand up. You know, where in this Hebraic faith, I know, well, not even just the Hebraic faith, even when I was a Christian, in my Christian faith, I was constantly being told, you know, submit, and I thought I knew what that looked like. I thought submit meant do what they want me to do. But really, submit means something different, to come alongside, to give reverence to or reference to something else, but it's not to become weaker than. And so in this book, what I see is you giving us tools to embrace the strength that we have, but also to honor the femininity that we have. And I think that's extremely important because it's a tightrope to walk when men look at, and I had this myself, when men look at you like, oh, well, she don't need nothing. She got it all together. She don't need nothing. And then they treat you like a man, or they don't honor you as a woman. And one of the things that one of my brothers used to tell me all the time was you have to be sure to honor yourself as a woman, and then the men will honor you as that as well. And I believe the same way, if we honor ourselves as a woman, our children will honor ourselves not just as mommy, but as a woman who might need her time in the bathroom or who might need her time, over here. Or when she says it this way, you need to make sure that you obey or listen. I don't know if that made sense, but that's my sincere.
Oh, it did. It really did. And speaking of the children, and the effects of single motherhood, oftentimes we hear the contrast of the single mother and the son, and the effects of single motherhood with sons. And I believe we heard from your son earlier at the top of the hour, and now we're going to hear from Sister Malakah's son, and then we're going to come back and discuss with the mothers, and then we're going to come to, we have not forgotten you, Anonymous Hebrew. I'm going to bring you in. We're going to hear what your thoughts are on the things that the children, because oftentimes the parents are struggling to hold it together, whatever the circumstances, and the children see something else. So it's wild to hear from their perspective how they viewed their experience, or viewed you helping them. So we're going to listen to the clip, and then we'll be back, discuss it, and bring in Anonymous Hebrew. Brother Sal?
3 things I learned being raised by a single mom. First thing I learned is just, how to really appreciate your mother. I think a lot of times we as children growing up, we really truly don't appreciate the sacrifices that our parents go through. And I think me personally, from a young age, I kind of peeped game and just saw, how some of my cousins were being raised versus how, me and my sisters were being raised. And just, seeing my mom fight traffic 2.5 hours to and from every single day just so she could keep us in the Santa Clarita Valley. So, me, myself, personally, as a young black male, I wouldn't be, trapped in, that lifestyle that I wasn't mentally ready for. I think the second thing I learned being raised by a single mom is just toughness, mental toughness. I think a lot of people try to break you in this world. And prime example, I had a high school football coach, great coach, respect that man to death, but he tried to break you mentally. And, I just wouldn't let that man break me. I think that, came from my mom, just once again, watching her raise 3 kids and just the struggle that she went through on a day-to-day basis, and just see her bounce back from every setback that she had, just watching her be mentally tough. I just think that, I had to be mentally tough just because, my mom wouldn't cry about it, so I'm not going to cry about it, And the third thing is, I had my dad in my life, but at the same time, I was with my mom all the time. So my mom taught me how to be a man. A lot of things, they say only a man can teach you how to be a man. I just don't think that's true, My mom was the one that taught me how to get up and, go to work every day, how to get up and go to school, how to balance a checkbook, how to take care of my responsibilities, My dad was there to reinforce everything, but my mom was the one that taught me that. So, and to me, that's what being a man, that's what being an adult is really all about, is just being self-sufficient. So I can honestly say my mom taught me how to be a man, and, those are the 3 things that truly stand out to me. Although my mom taught me everything I know in life, those are the 3 things that I do know for sure, that I do on a day-to-day basis that I value the most.
All right. That was the voice of Terrence. I believe that's Sister Malakah's son. How does it feel hearing what your son shared, Sister Malakah?
Well, I was really blessed by the things that he said. I had no idea what he was going to say. I was a little bit shocked when he said my mom, raised me taught me how to be a man. That caught me off guard. because my motto through my whole time of raising him was I can't teach him how to be a man, so I was always looking for ways for him to have that male bonding, that male interaction. I put him in football when he was like 9 years old. I think one of the pictures I have in the book is me putting a football in his hand when he was 6 weeks old. I think he was 6 weeks, and I'm putting this little tiny football in his hand. And my thought was, if I can keep him occupied and passionate about something other than these streets, he'll make it through high school and maybe through college all right, and he'll be okay. And, sure enough, he did play football all the way through from 9 years old all the way through college. He went to college on a football scholarship. So, and he is very self-sufficient, very responsible. I don't have any grandchildren by him that, outside of a marriage. He's not married yet. He's looking. Ladies, he's looking. And he will date a woman with children. But he's, he's a very upstanding young man. So it blessed me to hear him say those things. One of the secrets, though, I'll give is that if you have the ability to be a co-parent, pursue that. Pursue it. If the father wants to be in the child's life, do not hinder it. I have a whole section where I talk about that. Some people don't understand this, but, when I was in Christianity and you have all the big holidays, right, Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that, I let my son spend everyone with his father and his father's side of the family. Because even though at that time in my life those were important days to me, what was more important to me was the fact that my son would have an identity, that he would have a sense of self from knowing the people who he came, the man whose loins he came from and the people whose loins that man came from. That matters, And so if you have a man who is wanting to be in his children's life, don't make it harder for him to do that. So Terrence's father and I, we had a very, very good communication, and our parenting of him was as seamless as it can be when you're not in the same household. He was very supportive of my rules, the rules that I had in my home, and he didn't allow Terrence to be disrespectful towards me. That man literally would drive 90 minutes to my home to discipline our son over something that he felt he was being disrespectful towards his mom on. So that afforded me the opportunity to kind of, lay back a little bit and not be so up in Terrence's face. I'm a firm believer that you should not, as a mother, you cannot break your son in disciplining him. You can't crush his spirit because then he's going to resent you and he's going to resent women that look like you. And so all this up in his face, I've seen so many videos of women, calling their sons little names and, doing, just berating them and humiliating them publicly and things like that. No, for me. I just never went that route with my son. Not my daughters either, but especially I was very careful for my son to see me as feminine, to see me as soft. He knew that my mind
Sister Malakah, are you still on?
Yeah, actually, a call just dropped. As soon as she calls back in, we'll bring her back in. But a call just dropped.
I thought, I'm like, what's going on here? But, thank you for that. That was the voice of Sister Malakah. We're going to wait for her to call back in. And while we're doing that, we'll stop and talk to Sister Michelle now to see your thoughts on what your son shared about, the analogy of the car, what was going on, how he viewed the family unit and the issues that come about when everyone is not there and the parts are not all working. What were your thoughts on what your son said at the top of the hour?
Of course, I was a proud mother, a proud mother. When I heard that analogy, I was like, wow, that's true. I couldn't have put it better myself. And you don't really know that your children are putting it together like that. I'm not sure, at what age he understood that, or if that's something that he understands now as this wonderful man that he's turned into. But the fact is that he's absolutely right. We need, this thing that I see happening with women. I can do that all by myself, and I don't need a man, and all of that kind of stuff. It's detrimental to our children, because while you might not need that man, I believe that your children do, because it's a part of their identity. But also, as Sister Malakah just expressed about the symbiotic relationship that she had with her son's father, where they were able to work together, and they lived very far apart from one another, but they were still able to work together, and she knew that in a drop of a dime she could make a phone call if she needed that masculine energy to deal with her son. She did not cut herself off at the knees by severing that relationship with the father. So I thought that was really great, and that helped the vehicle of her family to run more efficiently. While it may not be running as efficiently as it could if it were all together, it was still part of the village. They kept everybody as part of that village. And so that's always a great thing. And I was super, again, privileged and proud to be able to see that. I learned a lot from that. And so, yeah, with my son, which I hope you'll get a chance to talk to, that's one of the things that he said to me is that what I learned from the situations that you had is how I wanted to treat my wife, or how not to treat my wife. And so it's important to know that our kids are really watching us, and not just watching us, but watching us to take cues on how they are going to deal with their situations in life. One of the things that Terrence said that struck me, that he said, well, I was looking at my mother and I felt like, she was overcoming, every obstacle that came. And what that says to me is that our kids need to see us winning. They need to see us overcoming. They need to see us healed. They need to see us healthy. So,
Mom, would I be able to comment on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I was on mute earlier. I just want to make sure everybody knew I was here. This is Brent Parker Benton.
Yes, that's it. I was going to come to you next. So now that you're here, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hey, so I have the privilege of seeing both situations firsthand, and seeing these two women be able to support each other, in times when they needed it. I've been able to spend time living with Sister Malakah, and also I've seen her family, be supported by ours in different ways. And she, Sister Malakah, before she had got disconnected, she had mentioned something about wanting to be perceived as soft and feminine. And while she was never perceived as manly or masculine, she nobody thought she was soft. Nobody thought, even my mother was soft. I know there were times where they were vulnerable and, they had to deal with a lot, but it was very clear the strength that they have. And as I went into my marriage, I was able, and even like days like today, I'm able to recognize when, it's time to give this woman a break, when you can, because she is doing a lot just to be a mother and to be a wife, and to be somebody who's trying to honor the Most High in everything that she does. And I was able to see, from not having that structure fully operational in my childhood, I'm able to see where I can support my wife differently in the ways that my father was not able, or didn't, or Sister Malakah's situation where she was not supported by the different men in her life in the way that they could have or couldn't have. I'm not sure all the details, but I know that when I look at my life, I can appreciate my wife differently and be able to support her. I hope more fully, having seen what it looks like to not have that husband, not have that covering, not having that emotional and physical support. Because, I feel I have my own regret because my wife is a single mother, or she's not a single mother, she's a stay-at-home mother, excuse me. And I have that guilt sometimes where, I work a lot and she has to, deal with our 5 children, and plus some sometimes. And so I do try to take those opportunities when I can to give her some rest and some relief.
Oh man, I could identify. Thank you so much for sharing. that awareness. Everybody knows my husband is working and I'm here with the children, and so it's as you're saying, this book, the care of the mother, because even sometimes when the husband works a lot, the mother is not a single mother. When a lot of pressure is on her, it can feel that way, and so even though single mother is compounded, I like what he said, that it brings a heightened awareness that you don't add to her already existing responsibilities because you feel as though you've completed yours. So if you want her to be whole and the best that she can be to provide for the family in the way in which she's supposed to, then it's awesome for the males and the family members, the grandparents, the aunts, to step in and be that community. To lift that weight off of her, because we come to a space, and then I'm going to come to, actually, thank everybody who has just joined us. We're on the conversation. We're with author Malakah, Sister Malakah. We're on with her editor, Sister Michelle, her son Brenton, I keep calling him Brenton, I'm sorry, Brent. And so if you want to chime into the conversation, feel free to press 1. I was just about to go off on a tangent, and I'm glad I didn't, because you know how I do sometimes. I'm going to bring in Anonymous Hebrew if I can. He's been so patient. It's the 9 o'clock hour. Thank you for allowing us to have the guests to bring out their thoughts. Brother Anonymous Hebrew, welcome to the conversation. Feel free to share your thoughts on what you've heard thus far.
Shalom, everybody. Shalom, Sal, Sister Imuna, Sister Malakah, Sister Mickey. How y'all doing?
Hello, good. So glad you're here, brother, and just share what you heard.
First, just thank you for allowing me to be here. This is, to me, it sounds like this is a family affair. I almost feel like I need to just shut up and sit back and let y'all go in. But I want to tell Sister Umuna, first off, like, you don't know it, but the Ruach is on you so heavy because you just speaking everything that's in my mind, even to the point where when Brother Brent started talking, I was texting Sal, let him go in too, like, because it was such a beautiful moment. So, like, this is a. What'd you say, sister?
No, I said hallelujah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was playing the choir. I'm like, hallelujah. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I got a chance to read the book last night, and so I guess I put on my counselor hat for a second. This is a very good book, Sister Malakah. I want to applaud you for what you did.
Thanks.
When you think about, I mean, he had his hands all over you, because this book is not only good for single women, it's all women, premarital women, blended families, women like new mothers or women that are struggling, like newly coming into marriage or just really dealing with things like that. And something that you didn't mention in the book, but it's got underlining tones throughout it, is women that are dealing with postpartum. There are things in this book that will because you were so transparent, and I want to applaud you for that as well. The transparency of the book allows for the reader to place themselves there and see not only how you did it, but how the Most High did it for you. You know what I'm saying? So, and then now I'll go a little on a personal tangent. So, my mother died in 2005, and it was just me and her, like my whole life, right? And so I got out of the military in 2005, and that was going to be the time where it was like I was going to take my mom traveling and reward her for everything that she did. But I got out just to take care of her until she passed. And so then if you can imagine, like, coming fresh off, that might have been like my 6th tour. Like, I'm fresh off Iraq, and I go right into taking care of my mom until she passed. And so this book put me back in that situation of thinking about all of the things that my mom went through raising me. And I hear, like, these brothers talking about what it's like to grow up with when it's just you and your mom. And I think the brother that was recording, he talked about the 3 things that you really take from that. And I could relate to even the football coach trying to break you. Like, I went to football. You know, I got to go to college for a second on a scholarship, but I was a knucklehead. So, but the dynamic of single mothers and their children, especially women of color and young black boys, is so critical in terms of how that child grows up. And you captured all of that in the book. And I don't want to go too in because I'm sure we're going to. I took so many notes and I didn't know what to do, what to say. But anybody that's listening, you know, I bought two. And I sent them to my cousins because to be able to see this thing from the perspective that the Most High sees it. And she really, I don't want to just give the book away, but she really does a great job of explaining how the Most High sees women and how he expects them and gives them the opportunity to, you know, to overcome whatever the trauma is that that caused them to be in that single mother position. So it's a great book, and it's not just for the single mom. I know it says that, but even if you are an established mother, and I think Sister Imoni even talked about sometimes you get overwhelmed with all of the kids, and you know you got to get them to school, make sure they're doing their homework, and do all of this other stuff. And I think as men, often we forget how, you know, what it's like to have to take care of the children, and it's incredible to see it. And I believe that this is something that our nation needs, because we can look at this and see this, and we can see where the healing can occur in the areas that we can actually do some work. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm kind of happy just to kind of be a fly on the wall and just listen. But all praise the Most High for this book, and good job, Sister Malakah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for that, as my son busts into the room. And thank you so much for that, Anonymous Hebrew. Like, children have no chill. For those who just joined us on the line right now, we have it's a beautiful when you can have testimonies on the author interview with people who, as an Anonymous Hebrew, it's like a family affair because you've been there, and it gives credence and strengthens what it is that you're bringing. It's not just hypothetical. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you've actually worked through, and you can have people who support you in that process, which is a beautiful thing. We're going to check to the phone lines right now. I think I'm getting hit up by Brother Sal. Hold on. We're going to the phone lines right now to see if we have anyone in the audience. And I do believe we have 2 callers. So we have 2 callers at this time. We're going to go to the callers if that's all right with everyone, and we'll be back to the panelists. Brother Sal, you can send the first caller.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 317-457. Still live in air. 317-457. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Yes, it's me.
Oh,
hi. I'm Brent's wife, and I'm listening. And so I'm thoroughly excited about the book. Like, I'm ready to read it. I haven't read it yet, but I really look up to Malakah and my mother-in-law, Mickey, and my husband, Brent. Just being a part of the family, as the Anonymous Hebrew said, being a family affair. I know I have been greatly blessed by my husband being a woman who was a single mother to my daughter's life when she was about 5 or 6 months. And the care that he gave right away for me was amazing. I've been in several abusive relationships in my life, and I was actually raised by a single mother also, and not really seeing that structure of what a husband and wife was supposed to look like, and really diving into what the Most High would say about the fatherless and how he cares for us and the type of mother that I needed to be. And I wasn't even thinking about being in a relationship at all. And then meeting Brent was really a breath of fresh air, but it was also uncomfortable because I wasn't used to being treated with so much respect and care by a man that it was new. And not having my father in my life, I didn't have that example in that relationship. So it's a value to see him with our oldest daughter, the one that I had before we were together, who's 9. And then we now have our youngest, because we have 3 boys in the middle, and our youngest, it just turned a year. And the relationship that I see with him and the girls, it's almost sometimes envious, because I'm like, man, I wish I would have had father, or would have had a male, influence in my life, and seeing how he really treats them and values them, and know that I hope and pray that they don't make the same decisions I make because I didn't have a father relationship, but that they have that foundation spiritually and emotionally because they have Brent as a father. And knowing that Mickey and Malakah were so influential in who he is as a man, but also know that my husband, marched to the beat of his own drummer, so he's very much his own person. And even preparing for this, he actually made sure that I had a nap and the kids were taken care of and they were put in bed, and that he gave me food before he went upstairs to make sure it was quiet for him to be on the call. So I think this book is going to be very powerful, and for other people, I know I've been affected just from the relationship that my husband has with Malakah and obviously his mother. So to know that she's put this in a book form, I think it's really going to be helpful, not just for mothers or for women, but for the men that may come into these women and their children's lives, to be just strongly impacted and be used by the Most High to impact the children that are in these women's lives, and then impact the children that maybe to come from that relationship, comes from it. I think it's a great, just like a stepping stone to create this opportunity for people to be inspired by this and to look at it differently. I think that's all I have to say.
Awesome. I love testimonies. Thank you so much. We didn't catch your name. I know you told me you was Brent's wife. What's your name?
Oh, my name's Christina.
Thank you so much, Christina. Again, this is just beautiful because this is people who know you. There's nothing like people who know you can testify to say, look, this is truth right here. This is something that someone is speaking through their experience and not hype. It's beautiful. I thank you so much for calling in. Please continue to listen if you would like to share again. And I'm sorry for messing up your husband's name. I know he's probably like, sister, it's not Brenton. My bad. Okay, so I'll work with it. My apologies, brother. So thank you so much for calling, and we're going to go to the next caller again if you're on the line. We're having a beautiful, this is just so warm and fuzzy and lovely feeling. Shout out to Sister Mayana. Hopefully I'm doing a good job, Sister Mayana. I caught myself being in hiatus, y'all. And y'all know Sister Mayana called me. I had to come out and represent. So all praise be to the Most High. I'm temporarily out of hiatus. And so we're going to go to the second caller. We're on the line with Sister Malakah, the author of The Care and the Feeding of the Single Mother. Please let us know your name, where you're calling from, and your thoughts, comments, or questions.
All right, we're going to the next caller. Let's go to 443-815. You're live in air.
Yeah, this is Brother Mercy. I was just listening. The son's comment kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, he said that his mother taught him how to be a man, and that brings me to my question. Why is the single mother single? Is it because our men are not raising our sons to be men? Is that the reason why single mothers are single? Our men are not doing what they're supposed to do? I mean, I don't know, but I didn't read the book, but, I mean, the son's comment kind of makes me think maybe some of the, I don't know who his father is, and I'm not going to speak on that. I'm just talking in general. That maybe some of the men out there are not doing what they're supposed to do, and maybe perhaps our mothers are single, and then we have a comment come up as, my father didn't teach him how to be a man. And then he knew who his father was. See, that's really, that strikes me. So I just think maybe our men, maybe they don't know how to be fathers. I don't know. Or something is definitely going wrong with our men. I'll just say that. And I know this is a success story, but even with the success story, I still see some troubling signs. So That's all I had to say.
Oh,
Brother
I would
Mercy.
love to touch that.
Thank you for that, Brother Mercy.
I was gonna say I want to touch that too. So y'all go.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Sister Malakah because it also was something that came to the forefront of my mind and through conversation. So I'm glad Brother Mercy brought it up. I'm gonna go to Sister Malakah and then to Anonymous Hebrew. Sister Malakah, your thoughts on Brother Mercy's comment?
Yeah, I was just as shocked as you were, Brother Mercy, when I heard my son say that. I really was, and I was not. My thinking was, wow, I'm not sure why he phrased it that way, but that's how he feels, and I can't invalidate what he feels. What I know is that when my son was about 9 or 10 years old, he asked to go and live with his father. He wanted to be with him full time, and I, as hard as it was for me, was willing to do that. I was not opposed to it because I felt like if this is what he needs, I'm going to let him have what he needs. But his father opted not to do that. His father didn't have, I don't think, I'm speaking for him, and I hate to do that, but through conversations with him, I think I could rightly say, at the time, his dad didn't have the confidence in his own ability to raise him. And so he didn't feel like he wanted to take the lead on it because he was afraid that he would mess him up. That's the thinking that I have. And then when we look back in his father's line, we see that he's 10 years old, and his father died a violent death. And so he didn't have, my son's father didn't have his own father in his life from the age of 9 going forward. So when I say there's something wrong with our men, I would say there's something wrong with us as a people, and we would call that post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, we all have been traumatized. The trauma is living under perceived threat, living in unstable situations, living in violence, living in abandonment. These are things that cause trauma, and I'm just naming a few things, but these are things that cause trauma to the human psyche. And so when you're a child and you suffer a trauma and there is no one addressing that trauma or helping you through it, you do the best you can to make sense of what's happening. He saw me being the primary caregiver because his dad, due to his own trauma, could not do it or didn't believe he could. And the best he could offer was the support towards me and supporting my raising of our son. So I don't put him down for that. I understand where he was coming from. I was hurt at the time. You know, I wanted him to step up a little bit more, take more of a lead, but he did what he could do and where he was at. You know, I talk about it in the book. I talk about him having a drug problem. And all praises to the Most High. He's been clean for about 30 years now. But at the time, you know, he had, I don't know, maybe when Terrence was 9, he probably had about 6 years clean. And so he didn't think he could do it, and I couldn't beat him up about that. What I did was I took what he could do, what he had to offer, I took it. I didn't despise it or reject it or push him away because it wasn't more. I took what he gave me, and we worked it out. We did what we could. And now for my son's perception of it, my son honors his father greatly, but I think that in his mind, he saw me being primary, and I think that's where that comment came from. And with that, I'll yield.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the clarity on that thought. And thank Brother Mercy for the question. We're going to go to Anonymous Hebrew now and his thoughts on women or mothers who are there, the primary caregivers, teaching their sons to be men, or can they? Because there's the thought as a consensus out there that a woman can't teach a man. But here we have a young man who is saying his mother did. Anonymous Hebrew, your thoughts?
Now, I'm going to qualify this first. Grown, we own a house, own multiple houses now, praise the Most High. My children live with me. Me and my wife married. We take care of our family. And my mom raised me and taught me to be a man. I just want to get that clear, just in case anybody thinking, oh, well, Maybe we don't know. Maybe we questioning this. You got to understand, especially if we talking 15, 20 years ago, the dynamic, and Sister Malakah spoke on it, especially when it came to drugs in the 80s and the 90s. I'm hearing this story, and it's almost identical. I wanted to go stay with my dad when I was 7, and he was married, and he had a substance abuse problem, but he was married, and not only was he knew he couldn't raise me, his wife didn't want me there. And she made it clear. She didn't say it to him. She said it to me. They had adopted somebody. They had adopted another family member and said I wasn't welcome there. Told it to me at 7 years old. So, yeah, my mom taught me how to fight. She taught me how to shave. She taught me how to write. She taught me how to do everything. And then she taught me also how to treat a woman. And not just to be a pushover, but how to respect a woman. I can't say I always listened to everything she told me to do, but now growing up and looking back over that, now I know. I understand what she was trying to teach me. So if we're talking about how can a mother teach a boy how to be a man, she has to. If she's a single mom, she has no choice. And Sister Malakah covers a lot of this throughout the book, especially when it's talking about don't make your son or your daughter your little man or your girlfriend when it comes to your daughter, right? My mom was very good about doing that. You're my son, I'm your mother. We can talk about anything, but I'm still your mother. And since your dad ain't here, I'm mom and dad. And if you get out of line, I got something for you. So I had a very strong mom, especially when you think about all of the stuff our black women have had to go through in this captivity. And this goes to something else she spoke about in the book that I'm very big on, the dynamic of what is passed down in the genes, right? Throughout this captivity, this particular captivity especially, our women have had to step up because the attack was so physical on the man in terms of castrating us in some situations and really breaking us down mentally. The devastating effects of slavery have reversed the roles in the house and then taken the man away, either locked him up, got him addicted on drugs, or emasculated him so much to the point where he doesn't know, he's scared to be a father. Right? And this is why I'm so big on what Mashiach was teaching about coming back to the laws, statutes, and the commandments, learning what Torah teaches, the principles about what a man really is. So, yes, a mother can teach a boy how to be a man. Now, there are some things that we have to grow up and learn separate of that, how to make it culminate. So, for me, I had to go to the military because I had to learn some discipline. I had to learn to temper myself because where we grew up at, I was surrounded by drug dealers and all of this other stuff. So my mom frequently had to go outside and actually physically fight men. And then the older I got, I had to fight. So that's all I really knew at first for a long time was if we got a problem, then we got to fight. And so I remember the older I got, my mom would tell me, well, you don't have to fight all the time. And I was like, well, I saw you fight all the time. She was like, I had to. I didn't have no choice. You don't have to do that now. So I had to actually go to the military to learn that I didn't have to do that. So that was the one thing she probably regretted. But, yeah, a mom is able to do that. I think the best quote is the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. If you think that your mom didn't have an effect or a big hand in helping you be the man that you are, if you saw her every day, then you need to go back and rethink and relook at some of the teachings. So it not only is it possible, it happens every day. I can take you down the list in my family. We all grew up with single mothers, and these mothers created a circle around us, and they wasn't having it. We had to be intelligent, but we also had to be strong, but we also had to learn how to have compassion. So it was a balance. So I was blessed in that respect. But I guess to answer your question, this society dictated. Basically, even especially when you think about public assistance and things like that, they almost they just beg you to just kick the man out of the home. So yes, they have to. They don't have no choice. So and that's what I got to say about it.
Thank you so much for that. Boy, this is a healing, lovely conversation. If anybody knows anything, healing is my key word, you know what I'm saying, my trigger word. And so anything that's geared towards being truthful and honest with our situation, where we are, and getting the tools and to begin to work through the process. You can say 50 million hallelujahs, but after you come down from your high, you have to work through your own mess. You understand? You have to do the work. And so, when we have books such as what Sister Malakah has put out, support it, read it, share it. And right now, I want to let you know that we have 5 free copies for the callers. So the last 2 callers who just called in, if you don't already have, or if you know somebody who needs it, send an email to debatetalk, the number 4, the letter U, @gmail.com, and Brother Sal will get it out to you. Once again, we have 5 free books to give away, so send your email to debatetalkforyou@gmail.com for the callers who are on the line. Brother Sal, do we have any more callers on the line?
There's nobody else standing by at this time, but we have a lot of listeners to the show. We appreciate your family. If you want to chime in, again, that number is 319-527-6239, or simply press number 1 if you're already on the phone line, and we'll gladly hear from you.
Okay, so we're almost at 10 o'clock hour, and so we're going to begin to get some closing thoughts from those who tuned in to the show, who came on and gave us their thoughts, and we're going to get some closing thoughts. We're going to start. I'm not going to mess up your name this time again, because your last name and your first name are kind of similar, so I'm going to go back and look to make sure I say your name correctly. So, Brother Brent, can we have some closing thoughts that you would like to share with the audience?
Absolutely. Just to be clear, I'll say it one time. My name is Brent A. Parker Benson the First. As Sister Malakah and Mickey, my mother, they are all very aware of how particular and clear I am about my name, and it is something I hold on to very strongly. So as we've been talking about, like women raising men, and it's always been my position that a man cannot teach, or that a woman cannot teach a man to be a man. It's just, you can't set the example. I mean, we can give our children everything that we have, and then we learn those other pieces along the way, like our brother was talking about, learning discipline from the military and learning how to temper yourself and all that stuff. I was able to learn the opposite lessons. I was able to see the situations and learn to do the opposite, see where my mom may have done something, that I would choose to do differently, or my father has done many things that I will choose and continue to choose to do differently, as much as I do love him. I think the point of it all is that none of it is impossible. The provisions will always come from the Most High. He will always provide the way, the direction, and all the tools necessary to overcome any situation that He puts us in. So I've never felt a sense of victimhood for growing up the way I grew up. There were times where I tried to feel sorry for myself, and the Most High would not let me sit in that. But when He revealed the truth to me through Scripture, through the example of the women that He put in my life, I would tell anybody this anytime, that Sister Malakah, Michelle Mickey Benton, and my wife are the 3 most top respected women that I've ever met. The most honorable women that I've ever had the pleasure of having relationships with are these 3 women, and I've learned so much from them, and the Most High has taught me so much through them, and shown me the ways that I can be supportive, and show me how I can be a man by contrast, rather. Show me, and one thing my mom did teach me that was probably the greatest lesson that I could ever remember from her is that she told me when I was really little that she didn't want to teach me what to think, but she wanted to teach me how to think. And that stuck with me through everything.
I saw different situations where, we were persecuted and, treated unfairly by, the church and by, different people in our lives. But she showed me that it's how you think. Think for yourself. Think for the truth. Always seeking the truth and then going from there. And she's great. She's lived a great example of always seeking the truth and always trying to grow closer to the Most High and closer in her understanding and her obedience. And these women have shown a great example of obedience. And that's about all I could ever say about them.
Hallelujah. We're celebrating women who have made it through and the children. Because, oftentimes, and we have some callers on the line, we skip over the portion within the Torah where the Most High left on record that when you and your children, and it's very important that the generation behind you wants to come. Because if they don't, then you're starting at scratch again. And so it warms my heart and overjoys me to hear the testimony of the children who can turn around and said, you gave me the best that you can, and I'm still coming. That's beautiful. Because oftentimes people, they go through this way, and then they turn around and they gave everything they could, and then the child is gone, and the grandchildren are gone, and you're back to square one. And so, may we all continue to be encouraged and put this at the forefront of our mind, that those who are coming behind us, we have to be honest, we have to be transparent, we have to be real, and show space for improvement and show them the growth and show them that you're not perfect, because children often look at their parents like, what do you mean you don't have all the answers? You know what I mean? Like, come on, Mommy, you're an encyclopedia. You must know. And so having these real conversations and giving them these jewels, as Brent just said, I said that, right, that he can carry with him throughout. So we're going to touch the callers, and then we're going to come to Sister Michelle to hear her closing thoughts. The callers, you calling in for that book, make sure you send the email to debate, the number 4u at gmail, debatetalkforyou@gmail. Brother Sal, let's get the first caller, your name, where you're calling from, and your question or concerns or statement. Brother Sal.
Oh, I guess he's turning it over to me. Am I being heard?
Yes. We have a caller on the line. What's your name, brother?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite people I never met, and I keep trying to get Sal to connect us. This is Brother Moshe. Some people call me Brother Moses. Some people call me Chairman Moses. Enjoying the show. I started listening online and just had a couple things to say. That the work of sisters, yourself, the sister who wrote the book, Malakah, I think, and then there's another sister we often co-host shows with that I always try to get the most encouragement to, just for the work that y'all doing as women on behalf of the people, and that's really powerful. Just in terms of youth development, parenting, single parenting, etc., I grew up with a single mother in extreme poverty with 6 boys, so I have 5 brothers. As one of the things that my wife and I did in my growth and development is start a youth development program where we teach math and carpentry or constructions to young boys, and primarily we focus on 8 to 12-year-olds, even though we go older. There's a saying that it's easier to build strong boys than to repair broken men. And what we've seen a lot in the program, and even how the program got started, was there were plenty of mothers who were single. The fathers had either been deceased through an ailment or through a homicide or through various means, and just the impact that it's having on young men who believe that they can do mathematics, they believe that they can build construction projects, and they're just seeing this turnaround with themselves. So just hearing more of the testimony of how women are doing the effort, because a lot of the Hebrew brothers or black males or whatever we want to call them are gone. The work is always appreciated when I hear another testimony. So I'm definitely interested in getting a copy, getting my wife a copy of the book, and just encouraged by the work. So when I heard the show, I'm encouraged by it. So I just wanted to share those few comments.
Thank you so much for calling in, Brother Moshe. You see, I know sensationalism sells, but there are real people doing real work in real time. And so we have to support so that we have a different face on the movement. You understand? And so thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for telling us of the good work that you're doing. Please be encouraged, because I know sometimes it can be hard out here in these streets. It'll be hard. And sometimes you may go like Brent said, sometimes you want to feel sorry for yourself, and then the Most High is like, get a grip. You're just one of the people, like, you just can't feel sorry for yourself. You just have to keep moving. So may we all continue to be encouraged as we go to the next caller. Thank you again, Brother Moshe, for calling in. Let's go to the next caller. I think that's like 4 books now, so I believe you get a book. Please, debate talk for you at gmail.com, and Brother Sal will get that to you. Next caller on the line, Brother Sal.
All right, let's go to the next caller. Let's go to 318-480. You're live.
Yes, this is Andre Kimball from Louisiana. I just wanted to call in. Thank you for having me. My wife is Mystique Kimball.
Thank you for calling in.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My mother was the mother of 6, and she was killed in a car accident. I was the age of 19, and she was 43. She went through a lot. She raised us all, I would say, very well. She went through some abuse. She did the best that she could. She taught us to love each other, and we never had a father around. So me as an adult, it's a challenge to me sometimes I never had example of a man around. So I never had example of marriage. She was never married. So now that I'm 50 years old now, and I'm still learning, and I have so much respect for single mothers, because me and my wife, we have 6 children at home now. And it's a challenge for us, with 2 of us. So I just have mad respect for women, and especially mothers that homeschool, because it is very challenging. They sacrifice a lot. And one thing I can say that I was glad that I did before she passed, told her one time that I can remember that I loved her. And we as men, we have a hard time saying those things, but now I don't. I can say it all day long now. But if I had a chance to do it all over, I would have told her every day how much I loved her. And when I did tell her, I was in the other room. I was kind of embarrassed to say it, but I just said, I'm going to have to say it. So I said, I love you, Mama. She said, I love you too, baby. And, that's the one thing that I wanted to say. I just wanted to just give an example of how much mothers love their children, and it's really tough on them as single mothers, and I'm just thankful.
That's awesome. Y'all are warming my heart today.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Sister Malakah.
Okay,
go ahead.
I'll be so quick. Brother Andre and his wife Mystique have started a ministry called Marriage Moments, and they're going to be doing podcasts about making special moments in your marriage, and they're very gifted in being able to take little moments that seem like nothing to others and making it special and make it bonding and intimate between the 2 of them. And sometimes the relationship that they have, when I see them just look at each other, even sometimes in a picture, I get embarrassed, like I have to look away because it's so passionate, And so I just wanted to just throw that out there, that here's another brother raising a mother who is now focused on nation building. He's building his marriage and building his family, raising his children. And so that's the focus of the book, is to be the mother that raises her child so that her child can then go on and raise the nation. And so there's ways that we need to strategize to do that. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I wanted to give Brother Andre and his wife, a shout-out for the ministry that they're doing as well.
Awesome. That was the voice of Sister Malakah. We definitely come to you for your closing thoughts. I think we have one more caller on the line, and then we're going to come to Sister Michelle. Brother Sal, is there another caller on the line?
Yeah, we do have another caller. Once again, for those that want the book, get us send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. I got 2 emails already. So, you're going to get your free book in the mail ASAP. We appreciate the family out there that's calling in. Let's go to the next caller, though. Let's go to 347-303. You're live on air. All right. 347-303. Can you hear me? All right. Going once, going twice. I guess they can't hear me. 347-303. All right. You can continue.
All right. We are at the 9:40 mark, approaching 10 o'clock. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to press 1. We're going to go to Sister Michelle for her closing thoughts on the conversation. Thank you for joining the conversation. And it's not often that you have the editor for the book. That's a good friend. That's the family. It's not often that you have it, so it's a beautiful thing. It adds to the value of what happened here today. So feel free to let us know your closing thoughts on the matter.
Absolutely. I just I feel so blessed to be able to be here and to be a part of this and to this conversation and to hear all of the testimonies and all of the stories, and my heart breaks when I hear caller after caller express whatever their brokenness is, the brokenness that's taken place in our family in this captivity. But that's one of the things that I love, is that this book addresses our broken hearts. It addresses our brokenness. One of the things that I can say is that everything that's in this book, I walked through this with her. We walked through the book. I mean, we were the book before she wrote the book. And so when you guys hear the testimonies of Terrence, her son, and all of what he's saying, that's the testament that this works. When you follow the Most High, when you get back to Torah, when you really commit your life to doing something of value, because you understand that you are someone of value to the Most High, then you can begin the process of repairing what's happened. And I would love to hear what I'm hoping to be able to follow you, Anonymous Hebrew, because I'm hearing about what you're saying about how following Torah changes our DNA. I mean, that's one of the things that I don't want to miss also with what Christina said when she called in. Christina she has an amazing testimony, but she was a single mother when she met my son, and when they decided to date, she was very, very, very specific about the way that she needed to do that, and I was just so proud of her, and I was proud of him in the way that they handled that. But what she said in the nutshell was that she had come back to the Word and begun to honor her relationship with her Creator. And then during that process is when she met her husband, and now they are raising their family together. And you heard him say, this is what I'm doing on behalf of my wife. And they are both the products of single-parent households. So they're doing something that they haven't really seen done, but they're building on the little bit that single-parent household could give to them. And what I love also is that I'm hearing everybody saying I have 5 and 6 kids and all of that, and I'm hoping that this will explode. The fact that we are now knowing how to care for our families, and to love one another in a way to where we're truly building our nation, and it's not a big bad wide thing. It starts with loving your husband, loving yourself, loving your Creator, loving your children, and if you have a spouse, loving your spouse. I mean, it's just about. We need to bring it home. We need to bring it home, and so I think I'm getting a little bit off because all my family's all up in here. But I just want to say that this has just been such an honor to be able to be a part of this, and I really believe that this book is going to touch the lives of many, many people in all over the world.
Awesome. That's my word for tonight, y'all. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sister Michelle, for sharing your thoughts, coming on, and allowing us to share this space in this time. And again, as I agree with you, hopefully This is another tool in the healing, you know what I'm saying, case, to say that just because this is what happened to me doesn't mean this has to continue to be my story. I can change it. I can heal. I can do better. I'm not sure. Did I get Anonymous Hebrews closing thoughts before I allow Sister Malakah to close out? Let me know, Anonymous Hebrews. Did I get your closing thoughts?
No, I didn't. I was just listening. But since Sister Nikki brought it up,
since you mentioned it, okay, no problem. Go ahead.
I would say first, Sister Malakah, once again, excellent book, I don't even know where to start. If you deal in the professional counseling world, the things that you see in this book are things that are tools that professional counselors use all the time. She gives you tools for how to come out of situations. I mean, step by step, 7 steps for this, the dangerous deeds. There are things in this book that will change you and help you in no matter where you at. And now this is to the men. I know we think we're perfect, but this book will also help you with how you interact with your wife or your daughter, the other women that are in your family, and the sisters that are in the nation. And I'm going to say a couple other quick things. One, if you guys have not noticed, you're witnessing literally the birth of a nation if you're on social media and all of these things. And a lot of it is being led by the unity of our sisters. And I want to make it known that not all of our sisters agree. Some of them are Torah only, some of them are Messianic, and however we want to put it. But you're watching it live, and some of you may not even realize it. This is an excellent book that we could support, like Sister Imona said, and it will put a face. It'll put a new face on what the Most High is really doing. Now, I'll close with this in terms of what Torah will do. I've spoken on it some, and I'm not going to go into real detail because I'm really working day and night on just putting together a website. You can just go and find out how all of this works. But whenever you go through trauma or stress, your body releases certain chemicals. And Sister Malakah, I've spoken on it a little bit. You are not designed to have those chemicals released in your body for 24 hours, 48 hours, 30 days, 90 days, a year, 10 years. Some of our neighborhoods are gladiator camps. And all of that stress has produced all types of either mental disabilities, mental disorders, or physical disorders. And I'm going to get personal with y'all for 1 second because I've overcome my demons, so I don't mind talking about them now. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan as the tip of the spear, and I was a combat soldier. And I jumped out of planes and I did all kind of crazy stuff. The level of post-traumatic stress that I had was so severe that they literally told me, brother, this is just don't get out of bed money. We don't want you to go and do nothing else. This is how messed up I was from dealing with the trauma that comes from war. And I'm a testament and a testimony of what the Bible, the Torah, those first 5 books can do. And then showing, and I don't want to go and make this a debate about the Mashiach, but I believe he was teaching us to come back to Torah. That's my belief, and I can prove that, and I don't want to argue with people because I don't want to disrespect anyone's belief. But if our agreement is those first 5 books, they're teaching you not only how to love your brother, because that's one thing that we really don't understand, but it's also teaching you how to eat right, how to think right, how to overcome what the oppressor has done. And what that will do in turn is it will start to change the way that what's called methylation, or the way your cellular makeup works. Now you start to attack. So now these things will literally start, and Sister Malakah could correct me if I'm wrong when she speaks, but this will literally start, and there are several studies on this, to do what's called basically turning on and off certain detrimental genes and certain detrimental things that can attack your body. That's why it's so important to get into that word and digest how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to speak, because you're training your mind and your body, and those cells will follow. they will follow suit. So you have to take the time. Please go get the book. If you don't feel you need it, buy it for somebody else. But this is our opportunity to show what we can do and what a book like this can do, because it's littered throughout the book on how the Most High, the Bible verses and things like that, of how the Most High was just influential in changing how she thought about herself, her self-awareness. So go get the book, pick up your Bible and read it, stop fussing and fighting, and let's really build this nation. We watching it. We watching it happen because of people like Brother Sal, Sister Imona, Sister Mayana, Sister Malakah, just staying on the front lines, continually pushing. And you know what? I haven't given credit to the editor because she also did a wonderful job of making sure that it flowed. I'm telling you, it's an easy read. Go get it. I knocked it out in one night. So I love you for what you've done, sister. Thank you for filling in for Sister Mayana, Sister Imuna. I'm sorry, one more thing. I haven't reached out to the sisters, but I'm be honest with you, my wife ain't playing that right now. So once I build a website, then I can interact a little bit more. But my wife has made it clear she would feel more comfortable if I did it a certain way. So I want to respect her wishes. So, but I want to build with the sisters. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I would say absolutely understand that. That's wisdom that you are implying.
So I want to. Right. Because I would ask her to do the same thing. So I want to just be respectful, but I'm working. I'm putting everything together. And listen, we have a unique opportunity, not just with the book to put a different face, but to follow suit with what we see our sisters doing as the men. We don't got to be all lovey-dovey, but we do need to learn how to coexist with different thought process and continue to build this nation. So, shalom, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Y'all got a beautiful family. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing because whatever y'all doing is working. Shalom, Sal. Love y'all.
Thank you so much. Love you too, brother. Thank you. That was the voice of Anonymous Hebrew. And it's really showing you, and again, shout out to Brother Sal. We have two callers on the line. We have overtime, 319-527-6239. If you are not on the line and you want to hear the overtime portion of the show, we are winding down, but we are going to go over the 10 o'clock hour, it is supposed. But I want to shout out to Brother Sal because the conversation is expanding, and it's awesome to have been in a space and see the energy begin to shift, and then see the attraction to a different energy, and then it grow exponentially. You understand? And so that really is the point. You're going to see more and more people who say, debating has its place. Contending has its place, and then building also has its place, and healing has its place, and all of these things are very important as the brother says, we grow as a nation. And so I just want to thank you. Shout out to Brother Sal for that opportunity for people to be like, me filling in for Sister Bayana, you know what I'm saying? Because now she's in a space, and now Sister Malakah's in a space, and and it's growing, and it's a beautiful thing because we do need to take time for ourselves. We can't be so consumed to say the people, and forget that you are part of the people. And so this is what we have to do for ourselves. Again, the feeding and the care, not only of the single mother, but of the nation, that you have to take time. This is what happened with Moshe, and I'm coming to the caller. When Jethro saw him, he was like, what's this madness you're doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to wear yourself out. That's wisdom. That's hakma. You have to know when, you know what, I need to take a time. I need to take some time for myself. I need a moment so that you can preserve your sanity. If not, phew. Anyway, we're going to go to the caller at this time. Brother Sal, we have the next call on the line. Feel free to, if you have any questions or comments, 319-527-6239. Brother Sal.
All right, we're going to get ready to go to the callers, but I also want everybody to send their prayers out to Mayana. She's not feeling well, so send your prayers out to her. She's supposed to have been here, as mentioned, hosting the program, but she's not feeling well at this time, so I want everybody out there to send their prayers out to Sister Mayana when you get a chance. Well, let's go to the next caller. Sister Malakah, we do have a free book on your end as well, right? I think you said you have a free book too, huh?
Yes, I do. I have a book. I have a book I'm willing to give away.
There we go. So that's 6 books right there. There we go. We got 6 books for y'all. So let's go to the next person, though. Let's go to 347-303. You're live in there.
Shalom. How's everyone doing? It's Sister Aisha out of Brooklyn, New York.
Uh-oh, Sister Aisha. Welcome to the station.
Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. The title of this book is really interesting to me. I haven't bought the book yet, but I do plan on buying it. And it's interesting because, I was a single mother for many years, and I was a single mother from the beginning. So at the time, I got so much, even though I was 25 years old, I got so much negative, feedback from my family. And, they were happy about the baby, but they were, what are you going to do? And, why would you do this to yourself? And the whole title of the caring and feeding, maybe I have it wrong, but to care and feed the single mother is interesting to me, an interesting concept because, a lot of times melanated women or women of color, Israelite women, are taught that once you have a child, of course it's about the child. The child is your first priority. So a lot of times we neglect our health, we neglect our stress level, we neglect our emotions, we tend to not only go through abuse from spouses and boyfriends, but we also abuse ourselves or allow ourselves to be abused. So, the idea of the title, and that's why I can't wait to get the book, but I'm going to get it at a later date, is interesting to me, the caring and feeding of the single mother, because even though I became a single mother in 2002, my son is 15, there's still such a negative connotation with being a single mom, even though people, once kids are grown, people, the single mother did such a good job, she raised the children on her own. You get accolades after the fact. But during the time when you're going through it, people are very negative. They're always asking, where's the father? Where's this, that, and the third? And it still has a negative connotation by some. So it's an interesting concept to me that someone would write about caring and feeding and taking care of the single mother who has to then take care of her children, whether she be a divorcee or separated from her child's father or single mother from the start. And because we have to care for ourselves, and I had to learn from that. I have to take care of myself. I have to feed myself. I have to have enough energy in order to care for my child, and that's mentally, physically, and spiritually. And the thing about it is like the brother was saying earlier, Torah is important because Torah teaches you how to love yourself. If you really, look at it and read it for, what's there, or the Most High uncover your eyes to understand it, Torah teaches you how to love yourself. And, of course, we love the Most High first, but we have to love ourselves. If we look down on ourselves for being single moms, that's going to feed, that the child is going to see that and experience that as well, even when you're carrying the child. I've listened to many people that said they could have recounts of things that their mother went through when she was carrying them. So, and I know that, we as Israel, we believe that women should be married. And, of course, before you have children, you should be married. But if it doesn't work out like that, we have to strengthen this nation. We have a lot of healing to do, as Amuna said. And we have to strengthen the families without men, of mothers and some single fathers, because you have some men raising children by themselves now. But to assist and to be a support system, and so that the children will will feel safe, well-rounded upbringing, and these are the things we have to do. We can't just cast people aside as well, that's a single mother, so let her go there with her kids, And I find that some people feel that the negative connotation prevents women from having more children, but I find it to be the exact opposite. You have some women that keep having children and they're, without a spouse or without a partner. And I always wonder, some women find that, love from the, the child, and they want to experience that love and they keep having children or whatever the case is. Not that I condemn having children. I love children and I love the idea of our sisters that are able to have more than one child and raise them in the righteous way teach them and, know how to balance their stress level. I, for one, think we should have yoga. We should have, Israelite mommy and me groups. We should have breakfast, centers in the morning like the Black Panthers should do. Anything to assist that single parent or even parents that are married so that we are able to raise our children and none of our children are left just walking the streets. Tonight I'm here in New York and I'm seeing kids because school is out tomorrow and they're just roaming the streets, and these are, I'm not saying that I'm condemning their parents, but our children have to be protected. They have to know self-preservation to protect themselves. And the streets is not a place for our sons or daughters. They are just open prey to whomever and the New York City Police Department. And, we have to get back in a communal way of living. They who?
Thank you for sharing that. Are you sure anybody want to comment? Feel free to do so.
Oh, I would like to say, God bless you, sis. I'm so glad that you get the title because I think for a lot of people, folks, the title could be maybe a little off-putting because I think somewhere in our psyche we fear that we're glorifying single parenthood when we pay attention to a single mother or a single father. And I think that a lot of that has to do with our actually being concerned about what the oppressor thinks of us more than anything else. We don't want to be the stereotype. We don't want to fit the image that they say we are, And I think in doing that, we actually kind of shoot ourselves in the foot because instead of being there to help the single mother be strengthened so that she can focus on the raising of the children, we kind of leave her to fend for herself, and so she runs head first oftentimes into more trauma, which then impacts the children. And now they're coming up in traumatic situations, and then they leave her home and go into more trauma. So it's something that has to be addressed, and I think it's time. It's time, for us to start looking at how we strengthen instead of espousing an ideology about how we should be. We have to recognize what is happening, where we are. Like that little map in the mall. You look at the map and it says, you are here. And then you look to see where you want to go, and you can judge the distance from where you are and where you want to go, and you can see a direction or a path. And so I'm so happy that you picked up on that title because that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, pay attention. Scripture in Isaiah that describes Yah as a shepherd who carries the female sheep with her young. He talks about carrying her who is with her young. So the image that you have is of him caring most especially for one who is bringing forth a child. And so I think that, as Israel, that is what we need to be doing is what Yah it does. He's a shepherd. We should be shepherding as well. With that idea.
All right. We are at the 10 o'clock hour. We have 2 callers on the line, so we're going to go to the phone lines right about now. 3 callers on the line. Y'all firing up, boy. Y'all getting, I'm winding down. Y'all, what did we find out? Okay, Malakah. We're going to ride out with this one now. We're going to go to the phone lines. Brother Sal, the first caller.
All right, once again, for the first 6 callers, send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com with your address, so we can mail out the books to you. We appreciate the family that's calling in, inquiring about this book and also speaking about what they heard in the program. So again, send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com with your mailing information so you can get your free book. First 6 callers. Let's go to 318-475.
Shalom, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hi, this is Mystiqua. I'm Andre's wife, and I just wanted to call in. I'm going to make this very short, but this book has been a huge blessing, a tremendous blessing for me. My situation was a little different. I wasn't raised in a single-parent household, but I became a single parent. I was in college, and I became a single mom at 20 years old. So for me, it was the embarrassment of being a single parent. I love what she talked about, the care and the feeding of that single mother, because I didn't take care of my emotional state. I always let what other people thought about me being that single parent affect me. And it came out in many ways. It came out in rebellion. It came out in stress, depression, anxiety. Like I said, the post-traumatic stress for me, because, I felt like my family had high expectations for me and that I failed them. So one thing that I did learn as a single parent at the time was to not worry about what everybody else thinks. I hate that I did not do more of self-care like Mother Malakah said. And I just wanted to personally say thank you for this book, because this is a book that I wish I had when I was a single parent, and now I can go back and sit and reflect on my life as a single mom and really appreciate the test that it actually taught me now, being a wife and able to, be married to my husband and raise my children now, because it has helped me. And the thing about it is, my mother although my father was killed in a car accident when I was almost 2 years old, she remarried. So that's how I was raised in a two-parent household. But her mother, my grandmother, was a single mom, because my grandfather passed away while she was pregnant with my mom. And so in turn, it also kind of turned into my mother raising me, because her mother had to take on both of those roles. So she taught my mother to, even though my mother was married, but she had almost like a single mother mindset. And I noticed that I had the same in my own marriage with my husband now. And I like when you talked about that earlier in the show. And I had to relearn how to understand the biblical meaning of submission and actually be a wife to my husband, and not take that that single mother, I guess I don't know how to call it, but that personality that I did have, even though I was raised in a two-parent household with my husband. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for writing this book. I'm going to actually get a copy for my stepdaughter, because at this time she could really benefit from this book. And I just want to say thank you. I had to kind of get my thoughts together, because when my husband was talking, I kind of started tearing up again, because, it's just, all this is emotional for me, just hearing everybody's stories. And I've just been completely, and I'm such a big baby, so I'm tearing up now. I've been blessed by the show tonight. I just want to say thank you so much for this talk. And that's all I want to say tonight.
Thank you so much, Sister Caller, for calling in and for sharing. Sister Malakah?
Oh, I just want to say thank you for calling in and sharing, Ms. Sequel. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the fact that as a wife now, you can still benefit in reading the book, and how you're able to go back and take a look at your period of time as a single mom, and kind of evaluate how you can even work on what you're doing now in your marriage, but also, sharing it. I love the fact that you're going to share it with your stepdaughter. That's awesome, because I really, my heart is that, young women especially, between those ages of 18 and 22, that little window right there, man, we do damage. We do a lot of damage. I even spread it out and say 18 to 25. And so I love it when women of all ages read it, but I have a special joy when I hear that a young woman is reading it or is going to read it. So thank you for that.
All right, now we have another caller on the line, Brother Sal.
I was going to the phone lines. For those of you that want to actually purchase the book right now, they just can't wait, go to Amazon.com and type in the search box, The Care and Feeding of the Single Mother. author Angela Malakah Phillips. And make sure you go to, as a matter of fact, I have the link in the description box right now. For those who want to get the book ASAP, we can just go to Amazon right now and purchase the book. We appreciate the family support out there that's voicing their opinions on the book. Let's go to the next call. Let's go to 410-488. You're live on air.
Shalom, shalom, Ms. Poka. Shalom, Yisrael. This is a conversation I remember when I was a child coming up, and I would see the double standards whenever situations were, would come into our family about somebody that is, quote unquote, about to have a baby, in that way, or got caught up or whatever. They had these different terms back when I was young, back in the 50s and 60s. And pretty much a lot of that is still going on now. You have that situation where, quote unquote, single mother is pretty much, was looked on as a hussy or fast, regardless of the circumstances. However, the other part of the equation of the child, if something happened and for whatever reason the child was placed with the father, the biological father, that person was looked on as a martyr, so to speak. So that double standard pretty much is coming down generational. It's marketed in different ways now, but it's still there. You can still, feel the ambiance of that, when conversations come about when someone, quote unquote, finds himself in a situation where they are in a situation maybe that they had hoped to be built into a covenant relationship, but it didn't work out that way, and somebody's got to take care of the child, because if we can't do like Shlomo said back in the day, or King Solomon, you can't cut the baby in half, and somebody take half a piece and the other person take a half a piece. We know that ain't gonna work, and but so these labels and these slurs and these different situations and stuff, they're still alive and well, singing down through the ages. And, one thing that I have learned, because I had been widowed twice and divorced once, and, looked on pretty much the widow part was, they look on, people have a little bit of empathy for a little while, depending on your circumstances, what you look like, and all that carrying on. But divorce situation is a whole nother matter, depending on what you look like and your circumstances, as to how a woman is addressed. And just like in the Proverbs, it's telling us to guard our hearts in all diligence, because out of it flows the vicissitudes of life. We got to do that in every situation, every kind of relationship. Seek Yah first, and to know how to guard your heart. And don't settle for nothing and nobody. You got to, seek Yah to learn how to feed yourself, to feed your heart, to feed your soul, and to feed your spirit. Because you can be married via a license, quote unquote, in the diaspora, in all of these different governments, via ketubah, in all of our, trying to be Yisrael without all of the knowledge of what the Barit Kadashah has yet to give. But we can be, quote unquote, married with those, quote unquote, paper, addressments, but we can still be single in reality. So above all, seek Yehovah and guard your heart. Don't settle for nothing. Seek Yehovah to feed your heart, to feed your soul, and to feed your spirit. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you for that. That was the voice of Imam Marcia, Sister Marcia on the line. That voice is undeniable. I always know it when I hear it. So thank you for calling in.
I knew that was an Imam.
That's Sister Marcia. That's Sister Marcia. So, yeah, thank you for calling in. Brother Sal, any more callers on the line? I'm gonna come to you, Sister Malakah. I know Brother Sal said there are no more callers. Just want to make sure we don't have any more callers before we come to you.
Yeah. There's no more callers. No more callers.
All right now. We're going to come to Sister Malakah for her thoughts on what Sister Marcia just said, because I know you wanted to touch on the relationship of the single mother with the Creator. So you can dive right into that space and then take us to your closing thoughts on the matter.
To Amuna, Sister Amuna, you've been doing just such a wonderful job moderating the conversation. So I appreciate you, and I want to thank all the panel, the other folks that have been on the show with me and sharing their thoughts and their heart. Sister Michelle. She's an awesome editor. I mean, she's gifted. And the beauty of her knowing me so well is she knew, you know, if I was saying something that she knew I needed to get a little clearer on, she knew how to say that to me and how to get that from me. So I just appreciate her. y'all bless you, sis. And the sister that just called, hallelujah, everything that you said, sis. I mean, you know, again, I can't stress this enough. The book is not glorifying single motherhood. I know that there are some who judge before they read or they judge before they experience. And so I'm saying this straight from the author's mouth. This book is not glorifying single motherhood. It is not glorifying the strong, quote-unquote, strong black woman who doesn't need a man. That is not what this book is about. What this book is about is healing. It's about healing. It's about being fed from the hand of the Creator. It's about having the Creator teach you how to eat, how to live, you know, what to eat. When we allow ourselves to get so emotionally deprived that we will accept abuse rather than be alone, that is not the Creator's will for us. Abuse is not His will for women in their marriages or in their relationships. What is His will for a woman who is raising a child by herself? His world. His will would be a family. I mean, He created Adam and Hava and wanted them to bear children. You know, so He was seeking a family in the garden. He's still seeking a family. But we're in captivities and we're in situations that keep us from being in families sometimes. And so we have to work with what we have. We have to maintain structural integrity as a human being standing before the Most High. And what I mean by that is, how did He design you? He designed you to be in relationship with Him, to be in family with Him. And I think sometimes as women, we tend to put a man in that place. We want the man to be our God. You know, there's nothing wrong with calling your husband Lord, as Sarah did. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you actually put your husband in the place of having a relationship with the Most High. It's not between you and the Most High. It becomes between you and your husband. You know, your husband is the one who tells you how to have a relationship. Single woman, because you don't have a husband there to do that for you, you believe you can't have a relationship with the Most High, or you don't seek the relationship. I heard some Hebrews once joking about how, you know, some of these women wanted to say they're married to the Most High or they're married to Jesus, and that's just foolishness. And, you know, I understood what they were trying to say, but I think what they might not have understood is that there is a place where the Most High meets a woman who is by herself. There's a place of compassion. There's a place of care. And if there's no one in your life to be a blessing to you, then you have to be a blessing to yourself. You know, if there's no one in your life to tell you to go exercise, then you got to tell yourself. If there's no one to tell you not to eat those chocolate chip cookies because you're sad, then you got to tell yourself, or you got to join some type of fellowship of accountability. But the point that I'm trying to make, really, and I won't go too much further right here, in the book I talk about how the Most High was my shepherd, how He is my shepherd, how He does care. Shepherds lead the sheep to feed. They lead them to water. Like in Psalms 23 when David writes, you know, Yahweh is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He leadeth me by the still waters, right? He anointeth my head with oil. She's talking about healing. When a shepherd anoints a sheep's head with oil, he's doing that so that flies and different creepy crawler things won't be able to attach itself to that sheep's head and crawl into the ear and get into the brain and lay eggs and things. Well, guess what? He's our shepherd, and He wants to anoint our head so that those thoughts and those things that we get into our head and crawl into our brains and ferment and lay waste to us don't have the opportunity to do that. We can't get that from a man. We get that from Torah. We get that from the study of Yah's word. We get that through prayer and fasting and being still before Him and letting Him heal us. running from relationship to relationship because we don't want to be that stigma of a single mother is not what brings us healing. We want to build a nation. We have to let him build us first as an individual and then bring us into relationships that are healthy with our children, healthy with our spouse, healthy with sisters and brothers in the community. It has to start with me and my relationship with the Most High. With that, if Sister Moon, if there's anyone else that wants to say anything on what I said, or I yield.
Hallelujah. That's what I want to say. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I want to thank you. Talking my language now, sister.
Hallelujah.
So definitely, that's a wrap. I mean, we'll have to come back and have more conversations of this nature. It seems as though these are the places that we are hurting and we need healing. We need conversation around it, and positive tools that we can send people home with to begin to implement it. So definitely I look forward to these healing conversations. Thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you for Sister Malakah. The link is in the box. Go to Amazon. Check her out on social media. Thank you. We look forward to Anonymous Hebrew as well. Mayana will always say, Amuna, you don't promote the things you do. I have some books on Amazon as well that speaks about healing.
Cottage.
The Yummy Cottage. My healing I speak about in respect to the individual, because I believe in speaking truth to power and the situations that you have. So I appreciate Sister Malakah in this space of what she has accomplished in being a single mother and raising. She can speak that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be able to speak that authentically. And so my healing comes from the individual before I came into having children, and I speak that authentically. And so I would just encourage everybody to speak your authentic truth so that you can really reach the souls that the Most High has for you to reach and to convey the message. So once again, thank everybody for tuning in. Where we lift up Sister Mayana right now in prayer, may the Most High be with you, continue to heal her body, heal her mind, and get her back to a space where she could continue to do that which the Creator has for her. So everybody be encouraged. Thank you once again, and have a blessed night. Brother Sal, the mic is yours.